life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and what my opinion is on why they are infringing on our constitutional right. Today's episode is going to have some adult language in it, so if you ain't used to hearing cuss words, I suggest you hit the stop button and move the fuck on. If you're still with me, then let's talk about what they're really not telling you about this lockdown. Let's get started.
Came a long way from that minimum wage. Funny how money be bringing out people who never remember the time that they paid. Count it up on my two hands. If you want to talk, I need two bands.
Okay, thank you all you mother chuckers out there for sticking with me for this episode. I'm pissed off today, and I'm telling you, I'm pissed off for several reasons. I'm pissed off not just for me, but I'm pissed off for you too. This is ridiculous what's going on with this lockdown, and I'm going to break it down for you for a couple of different ways. I'm going to start off with a video from Dr. Phil the other day where he was on Fox News talking about the ramifications to people for the extensive lockdown that they're putting us through. This goes beyond the virus at this point, and all of us have a different opinion on what's dangerous or not about this virus. So I don't want to get into all of that because I know I've had it out with a few of you already on Facebook about the dangerous effects of the virus and how dangerous it really is compared to the flu and different things like that. I'm not a doctor, I will admit that, but what I have done is enough research for the available information out there that I have is the same available information out there that you have. The difference is many of the people that I've been arguing with have chose to follow what's put out there by the mainstream media, which is bought and fucking paid for. We all know that. If you haven't watched the video that I just posted yesterday on my timeline, please take a minute to go back after you've watched this video and go watch it. It's called Out of the Shadows, and it will break it down even more into how the government is infiltrated into Hollywood and all the things that control the media. And so they put propaganda out there to plant the seed in your mind to think that you have no choice but to believe what they are telling you. Well, I'm here to tell you guys, they're not telling you everything. So I suggest that you quit listening to the mainstream fucking media and actually go out there and do some research and find out what is really going on out there. All right, the first thing I'm going to do, as I said before, is I'm going to start off with a video from Dr. Phil. So I'm going to play this video and then we'll break it down afterwards. So hang on a second.
Because it's so very important. This is invisible. I can't show you an x-ray of depression. I can't show you an x-ray of anxiety. But the fact of the matter is, the longer this lockdown goes on, the more vulnerable people get. And it's like there's a tipping point. There's a point at which people start having enough problems in lockdown that it will actually create more destruction and actually more death across time than the actual virus will itself. 250 people a year die from poverty. And the poverty line is getting such that more and more people are going to fall below that because the economy is crashing around us. And they're doing that because people are dying from the coronavirus. I get that. But look, the fact of the matter is we have people dying. 45,000 people a year die from automobile accidents, 480,000 from cigarettes, 360,000 a year from swimming pools, but we don't shut the country down for that. But yet we're doing it for this, and the fallout is going to last for years because people's lives are being destroyed.
Dr. Phil is absolutely right. The fallout from the lockdown is going to be far worse for years. Now, I know that we don't all agree on how dangerous this virus is, but here's what I wanted to talk about to you guys about today. We have been propagandized and fed this bullshit that the lockdown is necessary, that the lockdown is what's saving lives, that the lockdown is what's keeping the virus from spreading. I haven't believed that from the very fucking get-go, and I'm going to tell you why. It's bullshit. There is a scientist and a researcher from Israel. This is what started my prompt in this, or this is what started me down the rabbit hole of the information of how effective the lockdown really is. And a researcher from Israel actually did a report, which I will bring up this article and show you guys the report that he did that actually proved that the lockdown did not keep the virus from running its course through countries and areas where there was no lockdown in the exact same timeline, the exact same way, but you don't hear the mainstream media talking about this, do you? Nope. Because they want to feed you the fucking fear that they have kept feeding you all this time to keep you on house arrest, where they make you feel like you have no choice and you are helpless in what you can really do. So let me pull up this article. Right here we have an article. The shutdowns were pointless all along. As you scroll down here, it says Yitzhak Ben Israel of Tel Aviv University, who is in the research and advisory board for one of the leading pharmaceutical companies in the world, Teva, has concluded that all the lockdowns, all the shutdowns, all the closing of churches, schools, beaches, businesses, restaurants, parks were nothing more than an economy-destroying madness. It has all been unnecessary because the coronavirus runs its own course no matter what governments do or not do. Professor Ben Israel plotted the rates of new coronavirus infections in the U.S., the U.K., Sweden, Italy, Israel, Switzerland, France, Germany, and Spain, the countries that most resemble the United States in culture and governing structure. He discovered an amazing and even outstanding thing. It didn't matter whether a country pursued a severe incarceration in place policy, which is exactly what this is, like Israel, or went about business as usual, like Sweden. Coronavirus followed precisely the same pattern. In the words of columnist Medina Melvin of Town Hall, coronavirus peaked and subsided in the exact same way, Now, right here, Dr. Ben Israel's research showed that all countries experienced identical patterns of disease progression. Infections grew steadily, even exponentially, until they peaked in the 6th week or around that area, and then began to rapidly subside by the 8th week. That's one instance of research that I found that this is ridiculous. I have my own research that I did comparing numbers to different places across the world, and I'll get into that in just a second. But I want to tell you guys just how ridiculous this fucking lockdown is. Now, I know a lot of you are scared because I've heard every avenue under the sun of why people are in fear. I get it. I'm not going to deny anymore that this virus is real, okay? I'm not going to deny that this virus gets people sick. I'm not going to deny that this virus does kill people. But let's be reminded of the other reasons out there that people die every freaking day and we don't shut the fucking world down. Dr. Phil brought up some good numbers there. One of them I want to clarify on because I'm really pissed off about the fucking media, because right after he went on Fox News and said all that, several different mainstream media outlets came on and tried to discredit him for calling him a quack because they're going against what the agenda is of the mainstream media, of the politicians, and all of this to try to continue this to go further and further. Especially that fucking quack Dr. Fauci. He could suck one for real because he is out of his mind and standing up there and doing everything. I don't mean to get off on a tangent. I'm just really pissed off. But they came out and tried to discredit Dr. Phil for what he said, all because he got some of the numbers wrong. Let me clarify something. He said 380,000 people a year or something along there, 340,000, whichever number he used, die every year for swimming pool deaths. And they tried to discredit him because he, quote, inflated the numbers. Let me show you where he got that number from. Right off of the World Health Organization website, I pulled up this article right here that shows exactly how many people every year according to their numbers, and we all know that their numbers aren't necessarily correct. But at least we know where he got the information from, because I'm tired of the mainstream media always trying to discredit people when they come out telling the truth. Right here, drowning. 320,000 people right here annually die from swimming pool deaths. So just so we're clear, the mainstream media trying to discredit people who are coming out trying to speak against their agenda, there's the number right there. It's clear that there's another agenda by the mainstream media, the politicians who are on the other side of the aisle that I don't really care for, but I'm not making this a political statement. But it's very clear that they want to carry this thing out farther and longer so that they can continue to push their agenda. And now I'm not really 100% sure of what the entire agenda is, except that I can tell you this. They are pushing this vaccine agenda, and they're continuing to try to keep us incarcerated, to break us down spiritually, when in actuality, let me just clarify a couple things here that don't make sense to me. We are not truly on a lockdown, but they have created this fear in us that makes us feel like we should be scared to leave our fucking house. However, how many of you still go to the grocery store? I know I do. So we go into the grocery store where we're around a bunch of fucking strangers. We're supposed to be keeping 6 feet apart, but in reality, that's fucking possible when you walk through a grocery store and you bump into people and you're around people. More importantly, you're touching everything in the aisles that they're touching. And yet, we're not supposed to be worried about bringing something home on something that was in a store. That doesn't make sense to me. That's not a lockdown. But they've created the fear in us that we're supposed to be on lockdown. We go expose ourselves every single fucking day anyway. The virus is running its course whether we're on lockdown or not. Please don't misunderstand me. I am not a quack trying to come out and say that we shouldn't be careful. We shouldn't take measures every single day to try to eliminate the most possibility of anybody getting affected by it. Okay? Wash your hands. How simple is that? Sanitizer. Do all the things necessary to keep yourself unlikely from catching it or unlikely from getting exposed as possible. But in reality, we're exposed every day anyway. I'm going to bring some other numbers up to you guys because I want you guys to be aware of just how much this lockdown is fucking pointless. Okay, I'm going to start right here with this picture that I just pulled up. This photo it says 10 states not under stay-at-home orders. And you notice that Missouri is listed on there. I brought this particular picture up because I wanted to put into perspective something for you. Missouri was one of the last states to go under the stay-at-home order because Governor Parsons pushed it off as long as possible. Okay? The reason I brought that up, and it's so important, is because us, along with the other 9 states that are on there, who still have not ever gone under a stay-at-home order, never forced their people to stay inside. I want to show you where they stand on the actual list of states where the cases are the lowest. Missouri, is at number 20. Okay? We have Arkansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, Utah, and South Carolina. Those states have never went under a lockdown. And so you would think, because they never went under a lockdown, that their numbers would be sky high because of the spread. Well, that's in fact not the case at all. So more evidence to show that the lockdown is pointless. I'm going to show you this. Right here is the state list. Here is the state list of all of the states and their actual cases, and this was posted, where's the date? 1 day ago. So it was actually posted yesterday on the 17th. As of yesterday, this is the list of states and all of their cases and where they stand and who has the most to the least. So we are sitting at number 20 at 175 deaths. And so we had, let's go down the list here and we'll just look at the states. South Carolina has 109 deaths. And as we go down here a little bit further, we've got Utah, 21 deaths. North Dakota, 9. South Dakota, 7. Wyoming, 2. And the list goes lower and lower. My point in saying all this, guys, is out of all the states that did the lockdown, the ones that didn't do the lockdown are at the lowest number of cases and the lowest number of deaths. So I go back to the original article that I brought up from the Israeli researcher who said that the virus is going to run its course regardless of what we do to prevent it. Because we cannot completely 100% be away from everything or social distance enough or quarantine enough to where we are not going to be exposed at some point or expose our loved ones or whoever else there is. Again, I want to be clear about this. I'm not trying to say be careless. I'm not trying to say don't do anything. Not once have I said that. There are measures that can be taken on a daily basis that we shouldn't have to be quarantined or locked down to prevent this. I'm going to show you a couple of countries that never locked down and who have similar lifestyles and similar busy environments and busy social areas and things like that never locked down. And let's take a look at their numbers. The first one I will bring up is Sweden. I really love Sweden as a country anyway. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. I know they have socialistic ways and all of that. I was just making a joke. But the point is, Sweden's controversial decision to not lock down the country, they never did. They made it a voluntary basis. I don't want to go down through the whole article because the point is relevant just by the headline. And this is not the only article out there about it. You feel free to do your own research on this. I can encourage that. Don't take my word for this. But Sweden never locked down. Now let's take a look at Sweden's population. Sweden's population as a whole is 10,086,000. Now, how many cases do they have of COVID? Let's take a look there. Sweden has 13,822 cases and 1,500 deaths. That's information that I just pulled up before starting this video. So they're a country of 10 million, so they are 30 times less the size of us. Okay, so all you have to do to be comparable is to take that number times 30. So if you took that number right here, the 13,000 times 30, you'd be looking at somewhere along the lines of 390,000 cases. Excuse me. And 1,500 deaths, if you take that by 30, you're looking at somewhere around 45,000 deaths. Okay, we are in the United States up close to 40,000 deaths as of right now. So we're not that far away in numbers as far as the cases and the deaths. And if you look at percentage-wise, and they never did lock down. All they did was do a voluntary basis. If you want to stay home, you can stay home. You don't have to stay home. People were going to work every day. They were taking the necessary precautionary measures, washing hands, being sanitary, wearing masks in some cases, and doing all the things necessary to prevent it. But they didn't get any more cases than we did, nor did they get any less. Let's look at the next one. Here I brought up South Korea. They're the next country that I want to talk about. South Korea conquered coronavirus without a lockdown and a model to follow. So I pulled up their numbers too, and we're going to look at this, how many they have. So right now, as of this video, South Korea has 10,600 cases, over almost 8,000 recovered, and 232 deaths. 232. Now, they did their approach a little bit differently. They did free testing for everybody, and they had a online monitor that everybody could go on to see where everybody stood and all of that. They took the same measures precautionary as far as washing hands, being sanitary, doing voluntary things, but they never shut the economy down. They didn't force people to stay home. They didn't force people to get off work or anything like that. So because of that, they do not have the same death count. Now, the point of all of this is right here I've shown you more examples of where they didn't do lockdowns. The virus still ran its course. It ran through the economy, through the population, through society, and still took its toll just like it would have regardless. And here in the United States, in many states, we forced lockdowns. And let me show you what's happening in California. In California, look at what they're doing. Lockdown or else. California shuts off water, electricity to business defying coronavirus order. We've lost our fucking mind. We are now not only forcing people to stay home, forcing businesses to close, forcing people to lose their fucking jobs. The economy's crashing. And this isn't even about the economy as a bigger picture. This is for the small business owners, the people who are really struggling through all of this, people who lost their jobs, people who I know people who made career changes right before this happened to advance their lifestyle, and then now they don't even have that job because of the economy shutting down when it was pointless all along. Now, again, I want to say something. I know the people that are at risk here, and I suggest that you actually educate yourselves too on who the people are at risk without involving the mainstream media. Actually go to websites. Actually do your own research. If you look on the CDC website, the same exact people that are at risk for this virus, the elderly, the immunocompromised, people with underlying heart conditions, and all of the same thing, it's the exact same list on the CDC website as the people that are at risk for the flu. Now, why is that relevant? Here is why. because we don't shut down the fucking economy every year for the flu. And I know you're tired of hearing the word flu, so am I, but let's face it, it's the most devastating illness that we face every year, consistently revolving every year. And we go through it. As a society, we get through it. And guess what? They got a fucking vaccine for that one, but they still can't control it. Now, I don't know what's going to happen when this vaccine comes out. I can tell you right now, you ain't fucking forcing me to take it, because I know what's really coming down the pipeline. I'm going to end this video with this, guys. Take care of each other. Look out for each other. Absolutely don't be selfish. But we do not need to continue this lockdown anymore. We just do not need to continue it. We need to get people back to work. We need to get the economy opened up. If you're scared and you want to stay home, stay the fuck home. I'm not forcing you to fucking go out there and do anything differently. I'm all for it if you want to. But some of us don't want to. And you can sit there and argue all you want to that it's just going to put more people at risk. I've just shown you proof that locking people down doesn't even make a fucking difference. It doesn't even make a difference. It's pointless. Let's get the economy open back up, people. Come on, man. People need to get back out there and get their livelihoods going. How many of you guys are ready to go back to work? I hear it all the time. I see your posts on Facebook. We're ready to get the fuck back to work. Get the economy opened up. Let's get our livelihoods back. Let's get businesses opened back up. Let's make this a holiday to open back up. I don't know what else to call it, man. I know you guys are on my side, man, so I appreciate your support. I'm going to end this with this. I love you guys. Let's talk more later about what the chuck is really going on. Have a good one, guys.